Hello there. So a question that a lot of people ask is, why do I get so emotional when I need to speak, when I need to communicate? And this could involve becoming very angry and overwhelmed with anger, or it could be becoming extremely anxious and freezing and shutting down, or speaking too quickly, but just being overwhelmed by fear or anxiety. It could also be bursting out into tears, really becoming a flood or a puddle of tears when you need to speak clearly in front of a group of people or with someone significant in your life. Emotions, of course, are a beautiful thing and a very important part of our lives, but this can be incredibly debilitating. If this is you, stick around, and we're going to talk about in this video what are these types of emotions that can overwhelm us, what effect can they have on our lives, and then how to work at regulating them with some really concrete tools for managing this sense of excess emotion. So the first question we want to ask is, do you actually have too much emotion? Our culture is very into emotionally bypassing, which means avoiding feeling. How are you? I'm fine. Everything's just awesome, even though my life is falling apart. So we're kind of taught to not be angry and not be sad in front of others. So it's actually beautiful to share our emotion, but I think what we're talking about here is when it gets too much. Let me know if that is you in the comments below. So that could just be blurting everything out with anger, or it could be collapsing into that puddle of tears, or it could be freezing with anxiety or fear in the moment so we can't express ourselves. And the causes of this can be many different things. It could be hormonal, for example. It could be past trauma, for example, stuff that happened to you as a child, or the way you were brought up. Some families are super expressive, everything comes out. Other families are, we do not do feelings here. Everything is fine. And it can be stress and anxiety in your life in general. For example, what's actually happening in your life at that time, in your job, in your relationship, how much work you've got, or how much overwhelm are you experiencing. Myriad sources of this, a lot of emotion. And we need to take all of that into account when we look at this pattern. But it's really useful to ask ourselves, is this from the past? Is this something that keeps on repeating? Or is this very much about my current circumstances? Or both? So that's really your first question. Where is this coming from? The second question that we really want to look at is, how is this affecting my life? Now, for many of you, a lot of emotion, a lot of it coming out at inopportune moments, when you're trying to communicate either with groups or with individual people, can be really embarrassing. It can feel like endlessly like my voice is letting me down. And this can ultimately sabotage relationships. It can sabotage your career. It can mean that the way that we show up in public, in our work environments, is less than optimal. Or maybe it means that we don't show up because we feel like we can't quite trust our voice. Or we could be one of those where a lot comes out and then we go into a cycle of shame afterwards, and then we move into these cycles of on and off. I'll put myself out in the world and then I'll feel like I'll embarrass myself, and then I'll go and hide away in my cave for a bit. Again, share in the comments which of these are you. Either way, if this is debilitating for you, we want to learn to master it. And that's what we're going to do right now, is jump into a whole bunch of emotional regulation tools for when we're wanting to communicate around other human beings. Are you ready for this? Let's go. Emotional regulation tool number 1 is mindfulness and meditation and/or presence. So what this means is to be able to access, let's just say, a witnessing self, our more calm, present aspects of ourselves that has presence, a sense of perspective, kind of knows the big picture, as opposed to being mega locked in. This is my only reality and I'm an emotional right now, and this is my entire universe. It's like, okay, I've got that, but I've also got this. So in order to obtain that and have that available, I would say that a daily meditation practice is essential. But equally, in that moment, we want to try and access a little bit of that spaciousness. Tool the second, self-regulation tools. So I'd say one of the best places to start with this is to pause and breathe. So I like 5-5 breath, where you breathe in for 5 counts. and you slowly slow that down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so you count in for 5 breaths and you breathe out for 5 breaths. And slowly but surely you bring your system into balance. Another really beautiful one that I teach all of my groups is to take your hands like this, put them down onto your thighs. So either side like that, and then tap your thighs very slowly like this. Left, right, left, right, left, right. And again, use that breathing and slow down. And now what you're trying to do in this moment is regulate your nervous system out of that sense of overwhelm. Tool number 3, an absolute classic, is to do the opposite. So if your pattern is to blurt it all out, get all the words out, do the opposite. In that moment, it's okay for you to pause and withdraw. Or if you're a withdrawer and a freezer, aim to do the opposite. Just start speaking even if you're not sure what you're going to say. Do the opposite of your habitual pattern if you can. A fourth tool is to develop and enhance your emotional wisdom. So what this means is walk towards the emotion instead of like, oh no, I'm feeling it again. Really look at it, feel it, label it. That might sound strange, but really go into the nuances of what am I feeling? What am I actually feeling? Move past simply angry or anxious, really into the depth of it. I'm feeling outraged. I'm feeling it's unfair. And journaling can really help at a time like this to really go deep into the feeling, to get to know it, become friends with it, rather than just kind of saying, oh no, I hate it when this happens, and then just moving on. A fifth tool is to check the facts and really use critical thinking and look at the situation to see whether what you're experiencing is true. So for example, when you move into that rage, for example, to then do the opposite for a moment, withdraw, go into thinking things through, and look at, is the situation as I'm perceiving it in that moment really, really, really true? Or has distorted thinking overtaken me? And the same thing when you're full of that anxiety, for example, is that really the truth? Am I really under threat in that moment? Is it really that shameful that I'm scared? Or that my voice is shaking? Is that actually true? Because we often get possessed by these notions, you could say, these feelings and these ideas without critically evaluating whether they're true for us. And with a little bit of perspective, we can often discover that they're actually just not true. And we can put them down. A really simple one are the please skills, which is one, take care of physical illness or physical discomfort because that'll affect you. Balance your eating, get enough sleep. Are you getting exercise? These are called the please skills. So it's really taking care of the basics, because if you're underslept, you're going to be liable to be more emotional and lose control of yourself as you're trying to express. And to that end, it's worth mentioning hormonally, it's worth just being really clear about where you are in your cycle. I don't really need to explain this to you. And then really choosing one's moments for showtime when it's time to really express all the things. Another really simple but really beautiful practice is to accumulate positive emotions. And what this means, and I think the simplest way to do this, is to have a gratitude practice at the beginning and end of every day, to really be saying, what am I grateful for in this life? We can often get really trapped into fearful and negative perspectives. And if we don't really take stock and look at how lucky we are and what's good and what's beautiful in our lives, then often the perspective that we'll share and that will arise up inside us will have a negative bias. Our brains are a little bit like that. They have a negative bias. Next up, I want to talk about my Radiant Voices timeline process, which I teach students and clients when I work with them, which is that before speaking, let's just say we're building up towards a speaking event when we need to talk to someone about something serious, or we've got a big speech to make or share in a meeting, there's already mounting emotion. It could be mounting anxiety, it could be mounting anger. And so with this timeline process, the idea is before the event, start regulating and decreasing that curve downwards so that we don't arrive at that point like this, and then we're surprised. Why did I blurt? Why did I freeze? I really recommend using tapping, EFT, but use any particular method that works for you to down-regulate the amount of emotion that's in your body before that event. Then, during the event, regulate. So we're talking about breathing, tapping on your legs, using whatever is necessary to bring in a sense of perspective and space and calm and grounded regulation. Then the next part of the timeline process is afterwards. If you've got a lot of emotions and thoughts, they did this, I did that, I feel ashamed, they're so bad, there's the next point for you to regulate and tap and move through and clear the emotions and the thoughts about the event. I think this is really, really important for dismantling a pattern that if you feel your patterns are completely stuck and you keep doing the same thing, always clean up afterwards. I think that's it for now. That's a whole bunch of tools for when you get emotional, when you're trying to speak and communicate. You are totally welcome to go to my blog, which is linked below in the description, where there'll be a PDF that you can download with that toolkit. And please comment below about any of this. How does it affect you? What happens when you get emotional when you're trying to communicate? And, every YouTuber says, please like and subscribe. And I really just want to urge you to do exactly the same thing. You press the little button below, you press the little like thing. It really helps me defeat the algorithm on YouTube and get this work out there. Either way, I'm wishing you the most wonderful day, and thank you for sharing this time.